Hi, Jack. That's how we call you.
Yeah.
Very nice to have you here. Thank you so much for agreeing for this podcast. I mean, it's amazing to talk to you and know about your life today. You've done a lot of things and you're the most active person in the class, especially a CEO for the group, right?
Pretty much.
So, Jack, let's start with your real name. Like, what is your name in Chinese?
Okay, so it's Guo Liang Lü. So
Sorry, what is it?
Guo Liang Lü.
Guoliang Yu.
Lü.
You.
Yeah, so it's hard. So my last name is like really challenging for most of Western people, pretty much for anyone who doesn't speak Chinese. So it's like a funny story. So it was written in LU. So people would just call me Lu, which is not what my last name is. So throughout my high school, I was just Jack Lu.
Okay.
And then like they officially changed the writing of it into LYU. So I'm Liu, which is also not my real last name, but I'm fine with it, whatever. Because I go by Jack all the time, and people just call me Jack.
So the literal translation of Guoliang is Jack.
No, not really. So if you translate that, it's so Guo means country, Liang means good.
Okay.
So it's a really generic name, to be honest. So it comes from my family kind of tree. So all of my, they're not, so should I call them? My cousins, right? My cousins. So all of our name is Lü something Liang. So it's like that. So I'm Lü Guo Liang, and my big brother is Lü Liang. My second brother is Zhong Liang. So it's like we have similar names.
Okay.
That's
Wow.
what we did. Yeah.
That's
And what is
interesting.
it with Chinese names being translated to English names? Or is
It's
it like-
really hard. It's really hard, and the only one that I know can't translate well is Bridge. You know Bridge,
Yes.
Yeah.
the girl. Her last name is Chow, and that pronunciation translates into Bridge in English. Actually translates.
Oh, the literal meaning of
Yeah,
that is
Chow.
Yeah.
Even though the character doesn't mean it, but the pronunciation means it.
Yeah.
So it's like that's the only one I know is pretty good. But all the others, there's no way you can translate your Chinese
So
name.
is it that they've chosen names for themselves?
I chose my name for myself. So it's like usually when you're in school, either teacher gave you a name or they give you a list of names you can choose from there, or they ask you
Oh.
what do you want to name yourself.
This is in the United States, right? Or back in China?
Back in China. So
Is it difficult for even the Chinese nationals to pronounce your name?
not really. So
Okay.
my name is like really common and also
Okay,
really
okay.
generic in Chinese.
Okay, yeah, that
It's
makes
nothing like super special, super complex. It's like really easy generic names.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Before we go any further, I just want to introduce. We also have with us Anwaya Wadnekar in the audience. You can come a little bit here so that people
Sure.
see you.
Yeah.
So we cannot fit her in the camera, and she's the cameraman for
Hey
this
guys,
podcast here.
how are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice to have you, Anwaya, and we'll be having questions from Anwaya as well, right from audience. So that will be
Yeah.
amazing. So Jack, you have been in the States way long than I have known States for. So it's 9 years, is it?
Yeah. So technically 9 years. If you count this year as another year. I've been in the U.S. for my 4 years through my 4 years of high school and 4 years of college. So 8 years, and then this is my 9th year in
Wow.
the States.
That's a lot of time that you spent outside of your country, right from your
Yeah.
childhood.
Yeah.
At what age did you move out? It was at 16, 17?
13. Actually.
13, yep.
13 years old. Yes.
At the age of 13, like, I could never think of myself even knowing something, moving out of my own state that I live in. How brave were you? Like, how was the transition taken of you moving outside a completely different continent, like passing the 7 seas?
Yeah. So it's like I've living in a boarding school in high school, in middle school when I was in China. So I lived in boarding school when I was in China. So the experience of like not living with my parents is not like super uncommon, you know. I'm okay with that. Though like cross-continental, there's some problem with that. Communication is really hard at that time. There's not really easy way, and it can be challenging. But I think ultimately it's just like I'm a really like I care less sometimes about things. So in a way that I'm not really that concerned with my parents. They're doing well. I know that, and I'm doing well here. So it's like fine both ways. Like, and you know, you kind of get used to it in time. And also, like, my parents travel here like once a year or like during the breaks whenever they want to, and also get the chance to come back. So it's not like I don't meet them or anything like that. And we actually had a lot of good memories here.
One thing for someone who has stayed in the States for 9 years is they become a native. Like they literally speak like a native. They measure things like a native, like in pounds and also in Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
But I have seen you, your roots are very strong. You still measure it in Celsius, you talk in kilograms. Why was that? Like, how are you sticking to the roots of what you learned from childhood and not completely transition into a Native American and how they speak, the slang? You didn't pick up all of those things, but you stuck to your roots completely.
Yeah, I think it depends on your audience in a way who you're talking to. So, for example, when I'm talking to my peers, if they're from China, I use Mandarin, right? I don't really use English all the time. I use Mandarin, and when I talk to any other people, I use English. And also, like, when I'm talking to American, I tend to like automatically kind of convert myself into the system they're using. Like, I use pounds, I use inches, even though it takes like a couple of seconds for me to kind of process through my mind. But I think at this stage, I'm really comfortable transition in between them. I have like things in my mind that kind of, it doesn't really need like a second or like 2 second transition in between them, where they're more like two separate systems operating with themselves.
Oh, nice. One thing here is my audience would definitely think the only language speaken in China is Chinese. But there's Mandarin that you have pulled out right now in your conversation. Can you clear to my audience here what is Mandarin and how is China divided into 3 different types of Chinese language?
There's much more dialects
than
people actually think. So Mandarin is actually the official spoken language and the written language in China.
That's some general knowledge, guys.
Yeah. So there's Cantonese, which have different pronunciation and they have their unique ways of speaking and writing actually, which is really common in Guangdong and Hong Kong and Macau. In those areas, they speak Cantonese. And there are other dialects, mainly spoken within their province. In my province, we actually have our own dialect. In my city, actually. So we speak like some words different, but most of them are really similar to the traditional Mandarin.
That's right.
I would say like in the northern part of China, the dialects are easier to understand. They're really similar to Mandarin. The more southern you go, the more like different and kind of spins off from the normal Mandarin. It's harder for you to actually understand the dialects if you have zero knowledge of them.
Yeah. One thing about you, Jack, knowing you for like a semester now, you're very well composed within yourself. Like, you're never scared to ask questions. You're never scared to speak in public. You're naturally very much confident in speaking in any context or any given subject, because you can speak about anything literally. Like, if a given topic, you can talk about it for minutes and hours. How did you develop this skill? Is it a part of your habit that you read a lot? Is it like you gain a lot of knowledge and then you can speak about any topic? But how are you so confident to ask questions and ask it in the right direction in a way which is more understandable?
I think it's always been kind of part of my personality, where I'm not really afraid of speaking of anything to anyone. I actually find thing when I was in high school. So when I first came here, like I hardly can understand what everybody's speaking. So I had a lot of hard time struggling, understanding, especially with my courses, because I can't understand a lot of things teachers saying. It was just way too fast for me at that time. But like it gradually becomes better with time, obviously. So at my junior year in high school, I believe that's where I really kind of picked it up and start to really kind of, I was able to talk to people, I was really able to kind of communicate and also be part of the community. Before that, it was kind of myself being feeling of sectioned off because you really can't understand a lot of stuff they're saying. And also like, I I take a public speech class.
Oh, that's a secret, guys.
In college. To be honest, I learned a lot of useful things, as well as some ways, but I feel like it's just natural for some people like myself that you're not really that afraid of public speaking.
Okay.
Like, fun fact, when we were doing kind of the research, or I don't know if it's trustworthy, but like public speech is, you point out, one of the most feared things across all things, even higher than death.
Yeah.
So it's like, for some people, it's really, really hard.
That's right. Talking about this, so what was your major in undergrad, by the way?
Oh, so I'm a computer engineering undergrad major.
Computer science undergrad major. After that, switching to a management field of study. What is the choice? Like, what was your trade-off to switch to a management side of study?
So,
letting go of all of the computer science skills, because that's a booming industry right now.
Yeah, I just don't like it. And I feel like you need to find something you're really passionate about, you really like it, in order to be able to actually make a progress. And like, I suffered my college years, especially during the last 2 years. I suffered because I didn't like the things I was doing. I was like, it's boring, it's not interesting, and I just had to go through it, And then I was thinking, okay, so clearly the undergrad, the computer engineering didn't really work out for me. And also, like, I think the whole idea of coding is like a booming industry. It's true, but you're also facing crazy competition with everybody around you. I've seen really talented undergrad classmates. They're great at coding, they're great at what they're doing in engineering, and it's just not for me.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I ultimately decided to transition into something different. And at that time, I was I was exploring either engineering management or operation research.
Oh,
So,
nice.
Yeah, so these two areas.
Okay, you've done your undergrad from Penn State University, and afterwards you talked about how you had a 2.5 year gap. So why did you, that gap was majorly because of the impact of COVID, but how was that gap like? Like, how was the choice of taking that gap mentally, physically, and also how was the choice, was it taken lightly, or how strong was the decision there?
Actually, it was great.
It was much needed, is what you say.
Yeah, it was much needed. So throughout the gap year, I was interning at a company, and you see things that you weren't exposed to during
Right.
college time, and also in the working environment, you're exposed to a lot more things,
Yes.
and you quickly learn how things work.
Correct.
And I think that's really valuable. Added that into any people's like experience.
Yeah.
And also, after I was focusing a little bit more on my self-health. I was exercising. I lost 60 pounds.
60 pounds. Oh
Yeah.
God.
So like 30 kilos.
Oh yeah, 30 kilos.
But it's
Reference.
like around 30 kilos. And I was exercising. I was really focused on my health. And I mean, overall, it just made me a much happier person in general. And also, I learned a lot through the 2.5 years of gap. It's not like I didn't do anything. And throughout the time, I was able to secure my application here. And I think it's just really good if you are really uncertain of where you're heading. You kind of take some time off to readjust and redirect yourself into the direction that you believe you're heading to is correct.
Correct. That's very good, rich advice there. Because most of the time with life, I always think the same. I mean, I need some breathing space. And the moment I get a little time to breathe, I would try to refocus on what I'm good at and learn new skills. And that breathing space of 2.5 years was much needed for you to transition into a much better goal. Now that you see a vision, and talking about your vision, you have a very diverse path now. You have switched it from computer science to management, and now you think of PhD.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's a drastic transformation. I mean, looking at a managerial role, heading companies, to PhD, which would give you a doctorate. What is that transitioning? I know you're still in a thought where you really want to pursue PhD or not, but how is this coming into place, like the PhD aspect?
Yeah.
Yes.
I have like a connected question. Do you think that you've grown more introverted after you moved here? Or like, do you think that aspect of your personality plays into you wanting to pursue your PhD?
Okay, so I'm always kind of in between of introvert and extrovert in a way. I can't be really focusing on myself, on what I'm doing, or really in my zone. In sometimes, like if I'm working on some subjects that I want to work myself, I'm always in my zone. Or if I want to really focus on something. In other times, I'm really open to talk to anybody about anything, pretty much, and I can talk on and on and on and on and on. And the funny thing is that I've been talking with my parents with random conversation for 3 hours over the phone.
Oh, wow.
and talking to some of my host families when I was in high school for like, basically after I got home until like dinner time. So like, I can talk a lot with random stuff. And I think that's just how it plays into my personality, where I'm really coin flipping when it comes to introvert or extrovert. Depends on the situation that I want to put myself into. And since I came to the States, I would argue that I'm pretty much stays the same. It didn't. So the first couple of years maybe made me a little bit introvert, but once I'm comfortable with the environment, once I can actually understand what people are saying, I was not shy of talking to anybody.
Correct. I think that's the thing with states, right? When you move in here, you become more expressive naturally. You are more talking about yourself. You express things out of any sequence that's possible, and that's one good thing that you talked about, where you found it difficult for a couple of years, and then you're like,
Yeah.
boom, I'm a normal person here now.
I think the theater class I took during high school really helped me in some ways, where we were learning acting, we were learning speeching, we were learning a lot of things.
Correct.
Where it's really fun and to just help me to be exposed to a lot of different people. I really like the education system here, to be honest. In high school, the private high school system is expensive, but I really like the whole system.
All right. You've been in the States for 9 years now. So didn't you consider becoming a US national?
I was thinking, but we were always been talking about it, and we were always considering options of doing it. I believe it's just I haven't really settled my mind. Also, considering my parents, they can't really move here. They speak zero English, so there's always the struggling. Also, me being an only child, there's always the struggle for me to commit to like the States to become a citizen. Considering them, if I want to stay here, it's hard for me to find time to travel back and spend time with them. And because my parents have played a really huge role throughout my world and throughout my life, and I really appreciate what they've done. So, in some ways, I think I'm thinking in the future maybe pursue a green card, but I don't know. I'm thinking about that. So it's maybe in the upcoming future. And I just haven't made up my mind yet.
That was a really nice answer to this question. I mean, understanding your core values, understanding your support strength, and having a great respect for the things that have happened in life. That level of gratitude is necessary to be a successful person, and you showcase that, Jack. That was really nice. It was a good answer. Talking about English, like as in China, is it not very common to have a converse in English?
Well, the thing is that we learn English
In schools?
Yeah, in schools. It's a required course since elementary. So we learn since we were young. But I would say that the English we learn compared to the English they're speaking here, there's some differences. And also we are really not heavily focusing on vocal, just in a way. Like most of what we learn is grammar, vocabulary, all that for testing, for examining, blah, blah, blah. I would say that, but I'm taking some extra classes outside of the school to learn extra English. That's why I'm okay with English when I first came here, or at least I thought I was okay, but I wasn't really. But I thought it was okay, and it turns out that I'm struggling. I would argue that maybe for any foreigners to come, especially in a young age, taking a year of language school is pretty good. So like taking a language school year, like get you really comfortable with English, and also with the environment, is actually pretty good. I would say that's really good option to go for,
Right.
which I didn't. Kind of bombed my high school GPA for the first couple of years, but I picked it up.
Oh yeah.
Towards the end.
I want to bring back my question about PhD here. So, what is your interest? Why did you transition into doing a PhD? You're thinking about doing a PhD. So, why did that interest come in? Why not go for a job which is more stable and because
Yeah.
you got skill, you got a great skill at managing people and managing tasks. You can speak well, you can handle things well. You look like a natural leader. So, why not go work for a company instead do a PhD?
Well, for me,
Because PhD is a closed role, right?
yeah.
You are in four walls, you're working in an office space.
Yeah, but I would argue that PhD, in a way that, especially in business PhD, where I'm thinking about research that is more application based, so more real world application based research. So things that actually helps business growing, and all that, or helping us to understand business better. So in a way, I just don't see myself working in a role for 10 years. Like, it's not gonna happen. Like,
Okay.
I don't see myself working the same role for 10 years. It's like dreadful. And entrepreneurship, so kind of based on my background, seeing how my dad is an entrepreneur, where he started a bunch of different businesses. Some of them were great, some of them failed. I just think that entrepreneurship has its own kind of risk, and also it's like, I'm not a big fan of the chaotic idea, whole environment of chaos and uncertainty, and you don't know a lot of
Okay.
things, and sometimes you just wing it, and there's just too much uncertainty with entrepreneurship, which I really don't like sometimes. I like there's some risk, some uncertainty, but I don't like it's like being the whole idea of you don't know what's gonna happen next really bothers me a lot.
Oh yeah. Wow. Let's move to a different topic about food here. How do you like the food in the States?
They're okay, I would
Okay.
say. I just get used to it throughout the years. I mean, so most of my friends come from China, so the Chinese appetite, it's really different from the US.
Okay.
One thing we'll talk about a lot about is the dessert. Funny enough. So most of Chinese believe desserts here are way too sweet.
The way to sweet?
Yeah. In China, we don't eat that much sugar.
Okay.
We are high on carb, but we don't eat that much sugar.
Okay.
So in my family, we usually don't eat desserts at all.
Oh,
we just eat fruits.
I get it.
Right?
Yeah.
We just eat fruits. In very rare instances where we eat desserts, they're like, I would argue 50% less sweet than here. Like, at least 50% less sweet. It's like really subtle sweetness, what we like. And the other thing is that I'm fine with any kind of cuisine or food. I'm comfortable with all kinds. I like Mexican food. I like,
Oh, Mexican, I love it.
I'm fine with Indian food. I'm fine with Mediterranean food. I sometimes cook myself. I eat all different kinds of stuff. Yeah, I just adapt to it, kind of.
Growing up, all of us, while we were growing up, because we were in our home country, we built a specific kind of friendship. Like, we have core friends. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we have like this core set of friends that we made in childhood. I'm sure you had a few friends of yourself. And they stick along for the life that you grow along with.
Yeah.
So who are your core set of friends? Are they back from China? Have you made friends, like the core friends from India?
Yeah,
From the States?
Yeah, I have a few good friends that I made back in China.
You still connected with them?
Yeah, I'm still connected with them. One of them is currently in USC. He's also pursuing a master
Oh wow.
in business. And I have some really good friends I met online. I'm a big gamer. I game a lot.
Oh yeah.
And I have some good friends I met online. One of them just finished his master here and went back home in China.
Okay. You're like this bonded friends who stick along for each other whenever you need me.
Yeah, like I also meet one of my greatest friends in college actually, who's currently in the Bay Area, who's working.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. You talk about gaming. So what
Yeah.
is that games that you play?
I play all kinds of games. Like
Computer games?
yeah, computer games. Most of my free time outside of class, study, and research and work, I've been, spend some time play games, and maybe watch some movies and all that.
Hmm.
I play mainly on a computer, so I'm a big PC gamer in a way.
Do
Oh,
you like arcade games or combat games or
I
do you
play-
have like a type of game?
I play League of Legends throughout my whole life. I just dropped out of it, to be honest. Like like a year ago, I'm in Dota now, but like the frequency of me playing games is less and less frequent currently compared to what I used to. So like during my high school time, since I have all the free time in the world when I was in high school, I played game a lot. Like
okay. Finally, do you want to give some set of advice to all of our audience watching you today? Being an international student yourself, you've been in the States for so long. What is that they had to come with expectations with when they are moving to a new country? I'm sure it was difficult for you, it was difficult for us, but the transition needs to happen very quick and very fast so that you are well in race competing with the brightest minds in the country here. Just one advice which you would give so that the transition would be quick enough for them.
yeah, I think like really generic to say, yeah, you need to be really good prepared and all that. But in real life, there's no way to prepare for something that you can't really predict, right? You just kind of have to force yourself to adapt into situations where, whether you like it or not, it's the whole environment.
Right.
And I think the core thing is that you always want to find the people you trust and the people that is always will be there for you, and that's like a really big force to kind of carry you through some tough times. You know, whether it's your family, whether it's friend, whether it's your partner. With that, it really helps you out rather than being yourself. It's really harder to go through a lot of things by yourself. And the other thing is that through like the whole international students thing, is that when you come into a new environment, there are good and bad. Obviously, there will be things you're not comfortable, you're not gonna like, and there are also things that you were never exposed before, that you were maybe never expecting before that can happen. So you kind of need to be a little bit aware of those things are gonna happen eventually. So you just have to be adapted to those situations. And also one thing is that, after seeing so many different things in the States and in my home country, I believe that each society has its own goods and bads. So like there's no perfect world, there's no utopia.
Oh wow.
You just need to find ways to adapt into the environment you're living in.
Yep. So let's talk about relationships, Jack. Like, have you ever been in a relationship before? No.
No, I've never been in a relationship, and maybe in the upcoming future. Because for me, like a relationship is a commitment, and throughout my life, I think I wasn't mature enough to put myself in my own standard to be fully committed into any type of relationship. I'm okay-ish now, I think.
But it's a support, right? Relationship is a support.
Yeah,
What do you
but I
feel
think
about
like if I haven't figured out how my life is going, what I want, if I don't really have a clear goal, I think being in a relationship really creates a lot of problem. Especially for me, a relationship is like a long-term commitment. Like,
okay.
like I want to find the one who can spend the rest of the life with me. So it's like once I've kind of figured where myself is heading, then on the line, I think a relationship is like really helpful.
And how's the marriage, dating and then proceeding to marriage culture in China, and how is it different from the
Okay, funny thing. So I don't know if those things exist.
What, really?
No. I'm talking about the thing is that your parent will actually introduce you to girls.
For dating.
For dating.
I mean,
For talking. Not really for dating, for like talking. For eventually dating. And I've done
at
that.
what age is this? Like,
I don't like.
While you are a teenager or while you're ready for marriage?
When you're like off college, pretty much. Like 22, 23, around that time.
Yeah.
This is interesting. When you're young, like
Yeah,
basically
when you're young, or
it is not with an intent of marriage, right?
some can be.
It's
Some
kind
can
of
be.
commitment of some
Intent of getting you someone who's like
You
you
know,
understand well. That's it.
The whole idea is that they would use kind of their network to find you the people that maybe you don't have the network to connect with, and kind of.
Is it not common in schools and colleges for like?
It's common. It's common.
Right?
It's really common. It's common for dating, and I've seen too many
And
dating
is
stories.
there a taboo attached to that, or is it very normal?
It's very normal because in China we're not a religious country. We don't really have religions, Like there's Christian and all that, but it's not like major.
What's the major religion there?
Buddhism,
Buddhism.
Daoism.
What is your religion, by the way?
I'm an atheist. I don't have any religious belief.
Even your parents are atheists?
What?
Even your parents are.
Yeah, like no one in my family believe. Okay, one of my aunts believe in Christian. But other than that, nobody in my family really believe in any kind of religious. And
Interesting.
religious is like really small part of Chinese population.
So that how your family operates in this domain is quite common in the entire nation then.
Yeah, like so the whole dating scene in China, the fact is that since by nature we have more males than females, so we have like around 10% more males than females.
Yeah, that's the thing everywhere.
Yeah, that's the thing I heard. But in the US it's relatively equal actually. Yeah.
Better in the US.
Yeah. So like I would say for an average male, you're gonna have a hell of a struggle in marriage. Like and also I would say the general teenage or younger population in my age, they just faces a lot of pressure, from housing, from work, from you're not gonna afford a house in China.
He's looking at a long-term relationship. Girls, if you're looking at this video, if you're watching this video, you know he's the perfect green flag
Jack,
here.
please describe to us what you're looking for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because I believe I don't know, I'm not a fan of goofing around, playing around, having fun around, things like that.
Great.
I'm not a fan of that, and it's my personal belief, and I respect people who are willing to explore, but it's just my personal belief that a relationship is a long-term commitment for me. I know for some people that they're looking to short-term.
Yeah, and finding you're scared. You're more scared about finding the right one who would actually support and complement you rather than being a hindrance for you in your goal of life that you want to achieve, right?
Yeah,
You're more scared of that.
Yeah, I'm looking for some soulmate or people who are willing to have a similar set of goals and who are willing to be alongside my journeys. And well, we'll see how it goes. And
You'll find a very good one.
yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Do you have to give us a few qualities that you're looking for? Maybe you're not actively looking, but something that you would consider.
I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Anwaya is impressed, by the way.
I'm very happy, and I'm gonna vouch for him if ever he needs it.
I mean, I'm just looking for some people who essentially my ultimate life goal will be retire and spend half of my year traveling around the world and the other half of the year doing whatever I like. So if you're into traveling, into food, I'm a big foodie.
Oh yeah.
Into maybe music festival, I'm a big electric music fan.
Oh, you play instrument?
No, EDM. I listen to electric dance music a lot.
You can play them as well. You can create one.
Nah, I'm not. I was thinking about learning, but it takes a lot of time, and also nowadays you can find the Suno AI if you've ever heard of it to goof around a little bit. I'm a believer in AI, and I think in 20 years AI will actually be able to make really good musics, which is scary.
Oh, you're talking about AI in music. My God.
Which is really scary.
Yeah, the thing seeing with AI is penetrating everywhere.
If you watch videos online with the thing called Suno AI, they are already capable of making decent music, like really decent music.
Like novel music, right? Nothing which is existing before.
No, like you kind of get the shadows of music in their work, and they were able to produce lyrics and vocals.
Which is novel, which is new.
Yeah, you can just like type in lyrics. You can just have like chorus, verse 1, verse 2, throw that in, and they'll give you like a
Song or
2-minute sample.
Wow.
Like it's actually happening. It's decent. It's not that good, but some of the work they make can actually blow your mind. It's called Suno AI, and it's really scary, I think.
Let's talk about this one topic when we raised the topic about relationship, right? Physical intimacy. When do you think is the right time for physical intimacy in a relationship?
Also, we want to know
What is your
your
opinion?
like beliefs in China.
Yeah.
So in China, there's since we're not religious, there's not really.
Oh wait, why are you always relating relationships and physical intimacy to religion? Is there a religious restriction in your country that?
Not really, but
Because I never know of any religious restriction for
Yeah,
relationships.
there's like religious who are really against premarital, sexual actions and all that.
Oh, okay.
And I believe some Chinese parents with more old thinking are not really prone that. But I mean, my parents are open to whatever.
Okay, how is it in China then? Like, is it like a free country?
In general, the younger you are, the more free you are. I would argue that younger Chinese kids are, their thoughts are more westernized than you think, probably.
So that means the country is moving into a Western culture a lot then.
In a way.
In a way,
In a
right?
way. In some ways, it's really different.
How is this plugging in, right? 7 seas across China, is there somewhere else? How is this Western culture coming into China?
So the whole idea is like younger kids may be more prone to the idea of freedom of speech and all that. They want to do their own stuff. They're more rebellious in a way.
Oh yeah.
Things like that.
Maybe a lot of information is available to them at a very young age. compared to
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, like when you compare to the time with my parents, the way of conceiving information has drastically changed. Because in nowadays world, you can actually get a lot of information in a really short time throughout your cell phone, where in their time it's really hard to get any kind of information.
How bad was COVID in China? Like,
COVID?
Because
So
we have seen a more number of deaths
Yeah.
in China rather than in any
Yeah.
other country.
In China, I will argue it's not as bad as people think it is.
It is predicted worse in the media.
It was the main reason is that the government has a lot of power, and they actually just stopped the virus from spreading at all. So
Yeah, because you quickly control the virus. There were 0 cases for a very long time, very quickly.
you just shut everything down. You basically shut everything down and you lock everything down.
Everyone were inside their houses.
Yeah, people just stayed in their houses. And
What about the food and everything? Like how you had time to go and
yeah,
grocery shop?
you like there are shops open and it's under regulation and all that. And so based on my talking with my parents, their life was fine, was okay during COVID.
Feminism back in China, like a woman treated equally
You mean currently or
currently.
currently? It's like there are voices of feminism, and I would argue that I'm a full supporter of feminism as long as not in the extreme point. Sometimes it's when it's over the top. I'm really not a fan of it.
Yeah. Well, the thing with feminism, it's equality, not overpower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want to offend anybody, but like when it's too over the top, I'm not a big fan of it. But anyway,
Could you give like examples?
like I'm a fully supporter of, women should be paid equal amount compared to men. There is inequality in the payment. There is inequality in the world of the workforce, which is heavily favored for men, and in academia, it's probably even worse, believe it or not. But I'm not a big fan of, if you're not putting into your effort where you're asking for some favor in some ways, sometimes it's really not the case. That you shouldn't call that feminism. How lands work is a little bit different in China. like the land and the properties, it's always owned by the country, and it cannot be owned by any.
What? Really?
Technically, you rent.
You rent it from the government.
Yeah, technically.
You pay them rent every year.
Yeah, technically. So if you buy an apartment, you technically rent it for 70 years or 90 years.
So it's only the lease that is there.
Yeah, you know, technically.
And what is the practicality?
I mean, there are
You
ways.
pass it on to generation.
Yeah, there's ways for you to pass it around and things like that.
And when you pass it, like you pay yearly rent, right?
No, you pay the whole amount of
But
it, obviously.
it's
So like if
government
apartment costs like 1 million Chinese money,
for 100 years. The validity is for 100 years. Or
so it's like 70 or 90 years.
what after the 90 years? You
Yeah.
have to buy it again?
You're gonna, pass that in the 60th years or something like that. I would assume.
Okay.
Because things don't really.
Yeah,
I don't see things happening, in 70 years because our country only been founded for how many years?
Oh, you didn't see that happening.
Yeah, I haven't seen that happening.
What,
but-
really? It has not been 100 years?
Yeah, I don't really know the whole
No, it's
aspect
not
of
been
it.
100. I mean,
but-
maybe after this concept was brought in, it has not been 100 years yet.
Yeah, but the whole idea is that you don't actually own the property. The government actually owns the property.
And they can do anything with it. If they want, they can do
Technically not. So there's laws, there's rules, there's regulations, obviously, to protect you from owning it, right? They can't just take it from you,
Okay.
Whenever they want. It's not gonna happen like that. There's rules, there's laws, there's regulations, and all that.
all of your applications, even till today, you read your messages in Chinese, you read your, Mandarin in this case. You read your, you text in Mandarin,
Yeah.
you have your data in your laptop in Mandarin organized. So why is the transition mostly focused on the language there? Why are you more particular about that language there instead of having it in English, which is more convenient by now for you? I mean, we would have never assumed using our mobiles in English, right, Anwaya? Like in Hindi or our own language. We have it in English by default.
I think that is.
My phone is in
very
English, to be
colonized
honest.
people.
So my phone is in English. Actually,
Uh-huh.
the operating system in English, but a lot of apps they only operate in Chinese.
What do you use for your search engine?
Baidu, it's suboptimal, to be honest. It's not as good as Google.
And still people use Baidu.
Yeah, people still use that.
Oh.
It's been getting better, but
But why not Google, which is already there?
you
You
can't.
still have access, right?
No,
There's no access to Google at all.
no, there's
Dude,
no
that's
app.
like some good control by the government. I mean,
Yeah, so
we have
so,
heard North Korea having
so
restrictions
there's
on the internet.
so in China there's a firewall that essentially blocks some of these services. So
Even if I'm in China, I can't use Google.
no, unless you
Banned.
it's banned. So unless you use a
Why?
VPN,
Oh God, that's so sad.
mainly because political issue. Like they have so in China, the government has control on most of the content
Okay.
on the internet. So if Google, operates in China, they have no control on the content you can actually search for, right?
So do you guys not have YouTube either?
No,
That's owned
YouTube is
by-
banned, Google is banned, and what
You
else?
are still on Instagram, right?
Not often. I don't really use Instagram because
Not even Twitter.
no, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, I don't really use them. I'm not really a social media.
So that's Anwaya, that's one of the reasons why Jack is stuck to his roots. Right.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Jack. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank
It was
you.
wonderful talking to you.
Yeah.
Man, it was an amazing conversation that
Thanks.
we had.
No problem.
Thank you.
Great guys. Thank you.
Thank you.